Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Welcome
Welcome to
to
Creating Your
Oasis.
Oasis. This is Candy
And Brandy.
speaking to you from the Oasis Family Farm.
Good morning, everybody.
We hope y'all are all, waking up feeling good. We want to talk to you today about how we got here and how we got our name and how this started and what it means to us. And it is basically the word oasis.
Yeah, what an oasis is and what does it mean to you? You're creating your own personal oasis and how y'all can create an oasis for yourselves. So first off, let's start with the word oasis and what is it? What do you think about? What do you envision when you think of the word oasis?
Yeah, what does that conjure in your mind when you think about it? I need an oasis. I wish I was on an oasis.
Oh man.
That's how our journey began in a very strange way, but it was just, again, it was a spirit-led situation. And once we looked up the word and what it meant, it was like this perfect epiphany for all of us.
Because when you look up the word oasis,
Yes.
it represents, a quiet reprieve from a harsh environment where there's a body of water.
Yeah, there usually is
right?
a body of water there. And
And
our
so
farm.
it does house a body of water. When you think about an oasis, for me personally, what I see is like, palm trees
Yes.
and like, tropical kind of stuff,
Animals
relaxing
in
a
and out of there,
hammock,
but everything gets along with everybody because they know there's no water anywhere else. There's nowhere else you can
Yes.
go to be nice.
Just serene, relaxing,
Yes.
calm, peaceful environment, right? So on our journey, when we were like, okay, yes, we're going to call our farm the Oasis, and we'll get into different podcasts about that specific journey because that's going to be many parts because there's so much to our journey.
Truly.
But today we're just going to teach y'all about creating your oasis. And when we were on part of our journey, we were looking at so many different teachings and learnings, and we were like, oh, a backronym, and what does the oasis mean? And we started looking at that, coming up with our own backronym. This is for us what it represents, and it's in all of our teachings and all of our business, our part of our brand, and the symbolism behind it is our awakening starts inside self.
That's exactly right. And that
And
really is
part of our teachings and what we're here to help everybody recognize that your awakening, it starts within your own being, within yourself.
there's a call that happens within you that something's just not quite right. It starts kind of small. You'll feel it and you just won't really notice it too much until after you're fully like engaged with this thought processes that don't really ring true for you anymore. Things that don't seem right. It doesn't feel the same as it did. The things that you were taught as a child aren't necessarily how the world is. And you just start to be more uncomfortable. And that is like a personal awakening. You're like going, I don't really want a white picket fence around my house. I really need acres of fence. Acres and acres.
Plus,
And
the things that used to bring comfort don't bring comfort anymore, right?
Correct.
And because there's a lot of, maybe stress or fear being projected out from everyone else, it can be very hard for you to find your center, to find balance, or to find peace of mind because everyone can be either very aggressive. Sometimes people are just very self-centered or, just opinionated, we don't get us started on that. That will be another one that we talk about.
Yes.
With you guys. But, we can make those choices, those conscious choices to not engage. And that's why creating your own sacred space can help give you an environment that steps you back, removes you from feeling like you need to engage in that.
Yeah, I mean, it actually starts, with how you think about yourself and you think about where you're at in your life, right? And how you're engaging in that aspect of it. What does your future look like for you? Do you even think about that? And what would that be like? And I think people look at the future and they're very confused right now. We're very much so in the middle of all the changes that are going on in the world. And we were called to do this. This is the right time for it. But it feels terrible in some aspects. And in some aspects, it's causing a huge amount of division. And so with that, having your sacred space, having a place that you're creating in your mindset, in your thoughts, in your everyday, will help you navigate through this time of all this turmoil that's going on around you. We have actually found where we're not completely disengaged from everything that's happening in the world. However, our engagement is limited in any kind of negative aspect. Anything that is harsh or hard or terrible, we offer up, a positive affirmation, prayer against it, energy, all
to
that
redirect,
stuff. Yes.
to shift, to help you
Shift it.
refocus where you want to actually apply your energy and where you want to put your intention. And is it focusing on this, or do you want to create something that shifts that?
Exactly. Because we don't want anybody taking what we say as something to go home and then eradicate everything in their life, change it and flip it upside down, and then sit there and go, okay, now what? That's not our mission or our place. What we're encouraging you to do is kind of just step back a little bit. And it's like being in an argument with somebody that you're very, very close to, and you don't want to break the relationship. So you watch what you say so that you don't crush the other person or the situation that's happening. You don't break or burn your bridge, but that your point gets made and you're both comfortable in being in the space that you're at. That's what you have to be like what's going on out in the world. Everybody's going through it. You don't want to engage in that. You don't want to feel like that. You want to be part of it, but you don't want to let the negativity win either. So that's where your sacred space and you being the sacred being, right, creates that space where you're just a little light walking around. You don't have to say anything to anybody to be your positive, happy self. But it's recognizing how to do that, right? What do you say to yourself in the morning? What's your pitch for the day?
Well, there's a segue there. So it's recognizing how you can bring the spiritual with you everywhere you go.
Yes.
It's not just something that is, only on Sundays. It can be something that you actively participate in day to day. And if you have a hard time finding a center within your own being, you can start by creating a sacred space in your own home, and dedicating a place in your house, out in nature, somewhere that can be your go-to place to just decompress, to recenter yourself. You can do some kind of morning ritual that gets you up, that helps you set your pace for the day, to set your mindset for today, what's going to be your focus, how you can pull yourself back in and disengage from any of those negativities that are out there so that you are not being distracted from like a goal or a focus that you have or a mindset that you're creating within yourself. Because it's not easy by any means to because it just requires constant redirection. It requires discipline and requires you to be more observant than to be reactive and unconscious. And most people are not very conscious of their actions and how they can actually take their power back and create a life worth living, and not be so involved and engaged with everybody else's dramas that the world seems to be filled with at the moment.
Right. And social media in particular right now is kind of really pushing everybody's buttons.
Yeah.
And it is pushing it, to make you be reactive, to make you feel this angst and like things are just so bad. They're falling apart so much.
Oh yeah.
I don't understand this world.
Projecting and, and that's because people are just scared. A lot of people are very scared and they feel powerless. And we don't really have leaders that we can all look up to. And there's nobody really out there who's like, we got your back. We're looking out for you. Like there isn't any of that.
There's not a hero.
There is this. Exactly. And nobody's coming to save anybody. So we have to take power back into our own hands and realize that we do have a sense of power and control in our own lives. And just in creating your own oasis personally for yourself, you will start to realize that you can be in this world and not of
not of it
and other people's realities. Because we have met so many people that have been, they're all about, the politics and the dramas and stuff like that and worried about the future and stuff, but it's not physically affecting them at the moment. It's just, it's in the mind and it's a fear. and it's not quite the reality.
No.
But sometimes them focusing on it can be something that makes it manifest in their life.
Yeah, so we want to have people understand the refocusing. A lot of times I'll come in and me and Brandy will start talking, and as we're talking, we start recognizing where each other's focus may be and where it can be redirected, right? Because the focus that you've been on is really not solving the situation that you are questioning or querying or whatever. It becomes something where we engage each other, and as we're talking, we both trigger each other to hear this other perspective, and you go, how about this, what if it's like this? And it really is so quick to change your mind if you're willing to allow that to happen to you. If you're willing to allow yourself to change your mind about something and adapt quicker, the quicker you do it, the less time you spend in this negative arena of divisiveness, right, of doubt, of fear, because suddenly you become comfortable. That's what it really is about. It is a comfortable. I'm comfortable with being confused and not knowing what's going on. Okay, it really is that, because when you look out there into our world right now, there's nothing that you can stand on and say, this is the absolute truth. This is exactly what's happening, and this is why it's happening. And be able to stand there in it, because things come out every time you turn around.
Well, there's so much AI now too.
There is. That's what I was going to say.
It's really, you got to discern
Lots
truth,
of discernment now.
and you really do have to be in more an observant mindset and not be so engaging and
not take it in that everything that you hear or see
is
absolutely truth. Mm-hmm. And understanding that you don't have to have that real complete confidence in that if you have confidence in yourself and knowing your own personal truths, right? The things that are true and real for you, like what you will and won't tolerate within your circle, within your world, with what happens around you. And that doesn't have to be giant conflict. It just means you don't allow it in the first place, so it doesn't cause you the conflict. That is another thing that we'll be talking about.
Oh yeah,
too.
we'll be talking about how to set them boundaries and standards and values for yourself. Because definitely creating an atmosphere of well-being within your personal space, right?
Yes,
in your mind,
and
in
what
your
makes
heart,
it that, and what would you take, and what would you use? What would make it quiet for you? What would make it peaceful for you enough that you can listen to what's coming through your mind? What is being said to you? What are you allowing the voices that come up in your mind as you're traveling, sitting still, taking a shower, whatever? What are the private things that your mind goes to, and how does that serve you, or does it take away? Does it add to the negativity in your life, or does it engage you in a way that you feel more confident in yourself and you're trusting your decisions and the way that you want to live your life?
And when we're talking about creating a sacred space, we're not saying to deny anything or to pretend it doesn't exist and that it's not real. What we're talking about is creating an environment for yourself that is more nurturing, that's more loving, more peaceful, more zen, more, self-aware, and you're conscious of what you're lending your energy to and what you're actually engaging in. And if you're actually engaging in things that are going to be beneficial for the collective, or are you engaging in, combative, argumentative, negative energy to prove points, or, it's a difference of sharing an opinion and people being, open to hearing and evolving and growing and understanding other people's points of views. But that comes from a very mature mindset and personality. And it's very hard to find people who are emotionally mature out there. There's very few of them because a lot of people have experienced a lot of childhood trauma. So that's why there's so much fear, because people are not, getting help. They're not, and unfortunately help is extremely expensive, and there are some people out there who just kind of, who talk a good game, but they ain't really had the experience and to know where you're coming from or to help you in some kind of way. But there's a lot of aggressive people out there, and those are the ones you kind of just, I would say avoid those.
Yeah, that's an avoidance. That's not a denial.
Exactly.
It's avoidance, because you have to take care of this physical body, right?
Those are unpredictable people. And right now there's a lot of predictable things. boundaries, and you got to protect yourself for sure.
So listen to that intuition when it starts
That's
keying in,
right.
going,
Your intuition and your instincts are what we all are being guided to tune into more and to sharpen and pay attention, because there is so much false untruths out there that it is going to require you to be more sensitive
yes,
to what you're hearing and what you're watching, because that's the other thing. We can be told one thing, but actions always say something different.
that's exactly right.
So,
And then understanding, that as you're creating the space, which we will get into more, is just really it is finding the place where you can be calm and discerning. Now you can look over what the situation is and decide where you fit. Where do I fit in this in my life right now? How do I shape this around so that I can continue to function at my highest good, my highest level of brightness in the world, versus being brought down to a lower level and just being stuck and feeling like you can't move and that everything is beyond your control.
yeah, and when you're thinking of creating your own oasis, what does that look like for you?
Yes.
And what steps can you take to start creating that environment within your own being, in your own living space, and how, therefore you can carry it around with you everywhere you go.
Yes.
You can touch back into that sense of awareness and say, no, I'm stepping out of my sacred space here, and I don't want somebody to unknowingly get me involved, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because and now I'm back into that pattern, that behavior, gossip or, drama, or feeding somebody else's drama.
Yes.
Because
we have got the most dramatic time I've ever seen in the United States. Okay. And it isn't just
so
us.
sensitive.
Yes. But now we're talking so much. Everybody's on the talk thing, right? There's your TikTok people, there's people that are on Instagram, there's all that, right? There's a lot of information coming at you. But that's what we're encouraging you to do, is find a place where it's just you. It really is
you can
just you.
turn that off,
Yes.
you know what I mean? And we all definitely do. You need to be able to put that phone down and to turn the electronics off, because that also helps you create that sacred space.
Yes.
Step into the present moment, get out in nature, into the everyday living, and not so much in the dramas and the hearsays and the celebrities and
That's
all
right.
these things that are coming out everywhere that get people in a frantic, oh my goodness, because it makes everybody feel powerless. So this is going to be a way that we can help teach you guys how to put the power back into your own hands and to create the life that we all want to be living here on this beautiful planet Earth. So we hope that this message today finds the souls that are meant to hear it.
Mhm.
And we hope to have you all return and listen to us again for our next podcast. We want to speak to you all about
continuing what are the tools that you would use in the sacred space?
yeah, exactly.
Building?
How to
What are the different things that
okay?
are that sacred space, right? How we have it in our personal lives, right? Because we want you to understand that there's all different ways to make a sacred space, all different ways. It's just really is, how do you feel about the place that you're at?
Mm-hmm. And where you're at.
That's right. Which creates your oasis.
All right. Y'all take care. Have a blessed day.